in doing some of the work that I'm doing right now, I am so deep into data that I've got my brain all around data. And you think about what we do from an ACA standpoint, you think about congressional investigations on Apple and Facebook and Google and all the rest in terms of data. And it's an interesting thing to think about. So I was just going to talk about that a little bit this morning.
Hey, if you're enjoying the content, please consider subscribing. Give us a thumbs up and leave a comment down below. Let us know what type of content you'd like to see us cover next.
When you think about data, though, the main thing to do is follow the money. All right, so what is data all about in the beginning? If we're not talking for scientific purposes, it's typically what we're talking about is money. Now, it used to be that they looked at the whole human, the whole body, and said, wow, it's just one big thing. And then they were able, through microscopes and all the rest of it, to go, wait a minute. This thing is made up of you have organs. You have some different things going on. You have like parts on the inside. It's cool. And so then, they start going, oh, wow, there's like pieces of bloods, like there's pieces of that. And so what is it really doing? It's breaking down something large into a component piece. And all these little pieces add up to human body. And then they start finding, atomic level atoms and things, and they find subatomic particles. And then if you hang out with Trent long enough, you'll start talking about dark matter. You'll start talking about space between space, the ether that has legitimate mass, and they don't understand it. And so why does all of that, any of that even matter? What it really is, what I'm talking about is taking large things and breaking it down to its component piece. So what we're seeing right now happen just globally in our organization and every organization is that because of technology, we've been able to, just like the microscope allowed us to do certain things, and different pieces of technology is allowing us to do other things, to break our lifestyle, our habits down into component pieces. Now, everyone drove here today, right? Did anyone drive here a different way than you normally drive here? You did. Technically. Barely. Kind of barely. Off a little bit. So 20% did, but 80% did the exact same thing. My bet is you probably, if you brush your teeth, you either probably did it, if you don't come near me, but you either did it before you shower or after you shower every time, or almost every time. And so what am I talking about? You can be broken down into component pieces. I can be broken down into component pieces. We are creatures of habit. We do these things. I get up, I turn the alarm off. I wake up my oldest daughter. I let the dogs out. I do, there's very sequential things. And so why does that matter? Again, it's breaking Mark down into component pieces. Why do people care about that? Well, the reason that this thing cares about that, and that the apps, everything's tracking everything that you do on this, is that they can make money off that. If they know that, would be a crazy example, but if they can get to where they can measure the fact that I go to get dog food and there's no dog food, if Amazon can know that immediately at that point and allow me to transact with them immediately, they're going to make more money. So that's what this whole data thing, a lot of it is about. It's about how do they do that. And so you go, all right, well, why would Facebook or why would Google, why would they gather certain information for free? Nobody's doing anything for free. Anybody here willing to work without a paycheck? No. No, me either. Okay. So no one's doing anything for free. Everything like that, they plan on monetizing. And so why does that matter? Why does it matter to us? To the degree I think that each of us understands this and embraces it, there'll be a direct correlation between that and your earning power 10 years from now. It's super, super important because there's certain processes, there's certain ways that we do things as an organization that, I could give you some ideas, but you guys, y'all are in it every day. You know better than I do about breaking down an entire process, a sales process, a new client onboarding process, anything process, and going, okay, what exactly in granular, excruciating detail is happening at each of these steps? How could it be improved? This is exactly what happens in manufacturing environment, has for forever. I went to Wofford. Milliken is major into textiles, and they are major into hiring Wofford grads to come in doing process improvement. Get that stuff in that plant, come out look like a tennis ball or whatever it is that they're making, faster, cheaper, less steps, all of that. And the same thing works in business processes. I think it's an area, quite frankly, that certainly small to medium-sized organizations are just frankly terrible at, and I used to be as well. It wasn't until I started learning that I had to interact with software developers and they needed explicit details. All right, so if you talk to people in any industry, any business people, certainly anybody in sales that's had experiences with software people, they'll go, they don't know what the hell they're doing. It's impossible. They just are. That is not true. They know how to do exactly what you have the ability to communicate. There's the catch. And so until we change our thinking about taking something that's whole, onboarding a client might have 57 steps with lots of different people interacting with those steps. And so you look at it, and probably the first thing you do in looking at anything like this, trying to improve as an organization, is to figure, does it even make sense to go down that road? It probably doesn't make sense to have a process for getting your coffee in the morning. I guess probably technically I do. I just hit the Starbucks app and bought my coffee, and it was sitting right in mobile order, which is a little spotty, but today it was sitting right there for me. For you to make your coffee, it's probably not the right thing to do a process on. Probably the best thing would be to look at things that drive you crazy and take that whole mindset of understanding data, understanding what data points are you receiving from clients. There's an easy way that we fix processes. Clients call and they bawl us out. We go, we might want to fix that. It's a major pressure point quickly. But taking other things too, take the things that require lots of time, lots of energy, can be streamlined, and break them up. And this isn't about perfection. This is just about improving a little bit time after time. And what you'll find as you do that, you'll understand it more. You'll be able to look at something and holistically evaluate a process and break it down into its component pieces and systematize it. And so I just encourage you to look at that and see what opportunities that you can do that in your work, in your personal life, in everything. I mean, that's, I was talking with Laura actually this past weekend. We were just talking about how there's so many people that we really love and care about that based upon the way that we interact with them, there's no way that they would probably feel that to the degree that we feel it for them. Why? We have 4 kids. We have 4 young kids, and she works, and I'm running a company, and it's a lot of work. And you're just trying to make sure that doctor's appointments happen and lunches happen and all the rest. And so we even started talking about, okay, how can we build that in though? I mean, because we're not, it has to be both, right? We can't just be successful in different parts of our life. It's a question that a mentor of mine and Trent's have always, he's always asked people, given the opportunities or given the options, personal family life success or business success, which one would you choose?
Family success.
Family.
Both.
The successful always choose both. And you go, well, you can't choose both. You got to find a way to choose both. That's the balance, right? And so you go, how often do you balance? How often does a tightrope walker balance? Pretty much all the time. And so it's not about doing it perfect. But that's one of the areas that I'm really challenged in right now, trying to go, how do I do that? Because I'm not happy with that level of outcome, having shallow relationships that are all, that's the reason I'm bringing it up, because that's the flip side of process, is that you have to be careful that you don't lose substance of who you are as an organization, right? And so, yeah, we take care of clients. They get automated emails. Okay, maybe as a piece, right? Or that's like I could schedule for the 17th of every month or 24th of every month for Laura to get flowers. And it would be there. Amazon, it'd be right there on time. But is that really the heart of what we're trying to get to? No. And so that's the other piece of it. And that's what makes us human, is the substance of it too. It's two things balancing. And so anyhow, I just thought I'd share that. It's one of the things that I'm just kind of trying to even think through, like, and being purposeful, like things that you don't have the time or the money to do. You're never going to have any more time. You're never going to have enough money. Period. All right. I promise you that is the case. I'll just tell you very openly for me. All right. When I saw my dad make and lose $1 million 3 separate times as a kid. And right before he died, it was like a month before he died, we were riding down the road. We were going to Kentucky for Christmas. And he said, and he and I were very close, had a very close relationship. And he said, you want to know what my biggest regret is? I said, yeah, I'd love to know. He said, my biggest regret is that God entrusted me with all that money. I never did anything for anybody other than myself with it. And he was just impressed. Don't make that mistake. Don't do that like I did. And so, not perfectly, but I've taken that very seriously. I've tried to take that seriously. But I knew that I wanted to make a lot of money. Okay. And so when I started working with John Hancock, I promise y'all, this was the extent of it. Okay. I wanted to make a lot of money. As long as it was legal, I didn't really care. I did not care what was happening, right? So I got some job offers from like a bank, hardly any job offers, but I saw some guys who were working with John Hancock. So they were making, pretty good money. So I was like, I'm gonna go work there. And so I got there and I said, it looks like the people that have those letters outside their name make more money than the people that don't. I'm gonna do that. I didn't research the classes. I didn't care. It did not matter. I wanted the letters because I wanted to make more money. And so I started doing that. I started passing tests and everything. And then a good buddy of mine that you guys know, Mr. Triggers, he said, Combs, do you know that there's this thing called a CFP? It's like, wait, a Certified Financial Planner. Certified financial planners make $100,000 a year. And I went, oh my, you couldn't spend $100,000 a year. You couldn't spend, there's just no way. I was 22, 23 years. You couldn't do that. So I'm going to do that. And so in the next 2 years, I did that. I did all the prerequisite tests and everything. And so when I was 24, I had a CLU, a Certified Life Underwriter, Chartered Financial Consultant, Certified Financial Planner. And sure enough, as soon as I did that, I got hired away by Marsh & McLennan Companies. I was 24 and they paid me $62,500 a year salary plus commission. My first year, I made over $100,000, $110,000, something like that. So then I was in another conversation with Mr. Driggers, and he said, Combs, there's this thing called a CFA, a Chartered Financial Analyst. Now, it's brutal, but these people never make like less than $200,000. Oh my, $200,000. You couldn't spend $200,000. All right, so I could keep going, and because it keeps on going and keeps on going based on that, there is no amount of money you can't spend. You're never going to have enough money. Your lifestyle will change. You are never going to have enough money or time, or you cannot let that be an impediment to anything, because you will find another excuse. You'll find another reason. And so let's talk about you. Talk about me. My grandmother is 15, 20 minutes from here in a nursing home, and I've seen her once in the past year. That's not really acceptable for me. That's not okay. And it's just not. It's now, are there lots of reasons? You guys know what my life's been like in the last year. Of course, there's lots of reasons. Any good enough? Nope, not really. And so anyhow, I'm just trying to do that, to live on purpose as much as I can, to be successful in both, not just business success. And you guys know me. If there's anything that I fail at, it's being so focused on making something. There's lots of reasons for it. I could substantiate it all day long, but there's a point in time to go, that's enough. It's time to go see Mama Ruth, right? And that's a balance that I struggle with, and that we all do to a certain extent. And so maybe it's not that, maybe it's calling your mom, maybe it's whatever. Maybe it's for you, maybe it's taking a walk. Maybe it's doing less of those things and more work. I don't know. You know. And ultimately, that's when we become really successful, is that when we can self-police, right? To where we don't really need someone to tell us. We can evaluate what's going on, measure it, be honest with ourselves about where we are, and try to figure out how we can go forward and be better for ourselves, knowing that whenever I'm better for me, I'm better for y'all. So anyway, that's all of the jumbled mess that's going on in my brain, in my brain currently.